Sorry I'm gone, sorry I'm faded, sorry I'm loved. I know you hate it, I've been on the road. This ain't a vacation cause I'm doing shows. Sorry for keeping you waiting, I know it's a lot. I think all the time, if I want a girl or I want to grind, I give you the world if I had the time. But now I'm just trying to get used to this life. I'm in the lab every day, I'm in the lab like a vein. What can I say? Working my butt off like I want to raise. I need a girl that'll do what I say. You said I'm working a lot, I think you're right, but I think I don't work enough. The entrepreneur, I feel like a boss cause I made a hobby turn into a job. When I was younger, they used to make fun of me, now they're all over my dick. Hey, I lost a lot of my homies this summer when they fell in love with a bitch. Hey, we do not go out and party together.
Hey guys, just a quick disclaimer before we start this video. I just want to let you guys know beforehand that this video is going to get a little bit long. So I'm going to have timestamps and everything organized on the description, and I'm going to fixate comments. So you guys can, I don't know, if you want to skip something or you just want to, you know, have a guideline of what I'm going to talk about and in which order. Or you just want to see the entire list by itself, you know, like boom, here's the list. Then you go there to the timestamps and let them guide you, or you click the time, you know, and it will take you to the time of the video that I'm talking about. Whatever you want to, you click there. So that way it's more organized if you want to have a, you know, an idea of what I'm going to talk about and when, or if you just want to skip something for whatever reason. And also another detail is that everything I'm evaluating here is based on two premises, and the first premises is that the survivors, you're playing actual good survivors that know what they're doing, like very, very good survivors. And the second premise is that you're playing the killer to his fullest potential. So like you're not screwing up here all the time, you know. You actually know everything the killer is capable of, and you're doing everything that he's capable of. So I'm considering these two premises when I'm evaluating the killers. Okay. So keep that in mind, because you don't always play the good survivors. So yeah, you're gonna win with bad killers a lot of time, possibly. But I'm considering the actual best survivors. Okay. I have 2 years of tournament experience on DBD, so trust me. And I also play Survivor if you want to see my videos. So trust me, I know what survivors can do. I can compare them very well. Yo, what's going on, guys? So this is gonna be my tier list video for killer. Obviously, many people have asked me for this. Should be rank 1 here, but whatever. So I'm gonna do this differently. I'm gonna do it my way. So basically, I'm not gonna say like this is first, second, third. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna divide them into, I think, 5 categories. So it's not gonna be like 1, 2, 3. It's gonna be categories. And of course, there should be a best for each category, but you should, you know, just notice there's gonna be like 5 categories of killers. 5 groups, if you will. So the first group, I'll go from best to worst. Okay. So the first group I like to call the win tier, which is essentially the killers you play like when you actually want to win. Like for sure you want the best like chance of winning. Then this tier is for these kind of killers. And I mean by winning, I mean killing all the survivors, all 4, at least 3 of them, you know. Maybe the last one gets hatched, but the idea is for you to kill all 4 of them. So for that, the first and best killer in the game, I will say, is the nurse, like for sure. So she would be the first one, not only the best killer in the game, but also the first one for the win tier. And the second one for the win tier, I would put the spirit. So essentially you can say she's the second best killer in the game, in my opinion. And that's it for the win tier, the first tier. I'll have this all like written down on the I'll try to put some things on the screen, and I'll also put everything on the description so you guys can see it better, the entire list. So moving on, the second tier I would like to call the try tier. By try I mean, of course, you're trying to win, but it's still not as guaranteed as the first tier, you know. The first tier is better if you actually like want as many chances as you can to make sure that you win. This is going to be like the second level of winning, actually winning, which would be the try. I like to call it the try tier. And for that I would have Billy. Well, actually, let me just explain real quick like why what makes the killers that good really is really just about mobility, lethality, and slowdown of the game. So mobility, of course, is how well you traverse the map. Essentially speed of traversing the map. Lethality is how fast you can end the chases. And by that I mean regardless of how good the survivor is. Not just potential, you know, I mean an actual practice. And how well you can slow down the game with that particular killer. That would be the third factor. So going back to the win tier, Nurse, she doesn't have that much of a slowdown built into her, but because she can apply a lot of pressure very easily, she kind of becomes a slowdown character. She's very good for slugging, you know, very good for traversing the map, so she has mobility. And she has the lethality because she pretty much ignores pallets and windows, so you can just essentially hit them at any time as long as you're within range to do a blink. So that's why she's the best in the game, because she kind of has it all. Just doesn't have the slowdown, but that's pretty much, I think the pig is the only cure that's gonna have some kind of slowdown there, but she has other weaknesses, so that's why I think the pig is not high up. Spirit is the same thing. It's like she has mobility, she can use the phase for mobility, even though she's a slow killer. And she has lethality. It's really hard to last long in a chase against a good spirit. She has usually, she can also to an extent ignore pallets and windows because she's phasing and you know what she's gonna do, so you can kind of get away with a lot when you're playing Spiller. And the slowdown is the same thing. Because she's a good killer, she's gonna be down on people fast, and she has mobility. She's very good to applying pressure, like multiple survivors being pressured. So not much time wasted. I mean, so that's why her slowdown factor can be good. If you base the slowdown on the mobility and lethality. So that's why these two are the best. The win tier. Now going back to the tri tier, Billy is like very good mobility, but not as good as these two because he's very reliant on the map. So if you're Larry's, for example, you have no mobility as ability because you can't just use your chainsaw around. It's different than with Nurse's Spirit. You can just use your mobility at any time. Doesn't matter the layout of the map. So, but he still have very good mobility. For most maps, he's gonna be a very good mobility killer, if not the best, to be honest. Depending on the map, he can be better than Nurse for mobility if it's open enough. Maybe something like Shelter Woods, for example. Now, as far as lethality, he's not as good as these two because if there's a pallet or window nearby, he really can't hit the survivor. There's nothing he can do. He has to be looped. So that's why he's not as good as the top tier, the win tier. That's why I have him on the tri tier, because yes, his lethality is very good. You can very easily chainsaw them and one hit down them, which is these two cannot one hit down them. The Nurse, they cannot hit one hit down, but they are more versatile. They can hit him at any point of the of the loop. He can't, so he has to maybe eat a 5-gen chase before he can hit the guy, 2 times or get a chance for a chainsaw. So that's not good. So that's why he's in the tri tier. So his lethality is very good, but somewhat limited, unlike these here two. So that's why I would have him as first on the tri tier. Now the second would be Freddy for the tri tier. The reason for that is because he has the mobility, because he has the teleport. He's very slow overall, but he has the teleport, so that gives him very good gen pressure and mobility. You can also combine that with other perks, so that's why he's that good. And he also has snares. Snare is a really good anti-looping tool. However, it is still not as good as Nurse and Spirit, because some loops they're literally you cannot loop them if he has a snare there. So. But it's not like the survivor has no options, like against the Nurse he has no options. He's gonna have to somehow try to dodge the blink, or very likely get hit. Now against the Freddy, he still has options. He can just, like, if he sees a snare there, he can just drop the pallet early, and then you're forced to break the pallet, and it's like, or you're just bloodlusting him around for I don't know how many seconds just to get a single hit, so it's not really worth it. Just a lot of time wasted. And for the most part, he doesn't have the same slowdown. He can apply the same pressure as these other killers can because of their higher mobility. But teleport is a very good point for him. So that's why I have him on second. Because of the snares, which help a lot with the lethality, and the teleport, which helps a lot with the mobility. Which both together combined can help with the slowdown for building pressure. Now the third one for the tri tier, I will have Doctor. And the reason for that is because after the patch, the rework, he got really good, because now he's a very efficient killer essentially, because you always know where they are. It's very easy to always know where they are, especially if you use whispers on the doctor, and that's a huge advantage because you can always be chasing them. He also has a shock if you use it without add-ons. It's very lethal. Like it's just like the Freddy. You cannot, with the snares, you cannot loop him at all. You either drop the pellet early or you're gonna get hit if he has the, depending on the loop of course, but if he has the shock, for very vast majority of the loops, you cannot loop him at all, the doctor, if he uses the shock properly. Same way as Freddy if he uses the snare properly. So it's like a guarantee hit. So, but again, he still has the survivor still has an option. He can just drop the pellet early, and then you're kind of just like Freddy. You have to just go around, or you break the pellet and waste more time, because he's gonna go to another pellet if you break it. You know, it's just time wasted. The chase keeps going and keeps going and it never ends. Unlike the wind tier, which you can just essentially end the chase right away as soon as you get your power. But for that reason, for the reason of how easy it is to find people, he's a very efficient killer. He's never wasting. You're never like wondering where they are. You're always chasing someone. You're always playing pressure, so that makes him very good. Combined with the fact that you have the lethality of the shock to stop loops. For me, that puts him as high as Freddy essentially. The only reason why I put him below Freddy is because he doesn't have the teleport, so the mobility is gonna be lacking. Freddy is more complete in the sense that he has the teleport, so his mobility is gonna be better in comparison to the doctor. So yeah, that would be my tri tier, and I would put a tier, and my third category. It's somewhat the same level of the tri tier. They're kind of both the same. It's really just how much skill you need to perform. That's the only. I wouldn't say this next tier is worse than the tri tier. I would say they're the same. It's really just the play style is different. You know, you need more skill to play this next tier that I'm gonna call out, which is the no mistake. I like to call it no mistake high skill tier, high skill tri tier. So no mistake high skill tri tier. And for these two, I have Huntress and Deathslinger. Now the reason for that is because they're very good at they can be very good at ending the chases very quickly, much like Nurse and Spirit, because they can, you know, shoot over loops and everything, so you can have very quick chases. However, there's a huge like skill to it, so the survivors can try to dodge your shots as well, so it's not as simple as just a Freddy where you put a snare and just keep looping him until you get a hit. You know, it's much more simple. However, sometimes you can even get a hit, like for Huntress for example, even if without breaking the pallet, if you throw over something on the loop, you can still get a hit and down. So, you know, it's kind of gives more options, but you know, it's still, you know, is that kind of thing. You can't really make mistakes, because if you miss all your 5 hatches, then you have to go reload, and you know, you waste a lot of time. You can't chase him without hatchets, so it's very problematic in the sense that if you don't perform or things just don't go your way, these killers are really bad. But if you do perform, they can be really good, essentially close to the very top tier. So it's kind of a huge like variable there. So that's why I don't have them on the tri tier, and I actually have them after the tri tier, which theoretically would be below, because they have more variation to how they perform, and also because their mobility is like super bad, because they have no teleport and they are also already a slowdown killer. For the Huntress is even worse, because if you have no hatchets, you really can't do anything. With the Deathslinger, you can reload if you miss the shot, and you can still on the same loop try to hit him again, you know, forever if it needs to. But Huntress, no, as soon as you miss those 5 hatchets, you essentially cannot chase anyone, because she's so slow. You're gonna get looped forever by any kind of decent survivor. So especially, and she's also like very map reliant. He's less map reliant because he shots, the hitbox is not as big as Huntress, so you control like between cracks, and anything you can see an opening he can hit people through with his shot, whereas the Huntress cannot. She needs to like a very big opening for the big hitbox of the hatchet to go by without actually hitting anything else. So for that reason is why I would put, I'm not sure who is best, to be honest. I can't really, depends. It very much depends. No, I guess I would put Huntress on first, to be honest, because his chain is very easy to break without very good add-ons. So yeah, I guess I would put Huntress on the first for this tier, which this tier is only composed by these two, which is the range killers that shoot things. But overall, I think I would have this tier, the no mistake high skill tier, below the try tier, just because of how variable they can be. You know, it's not as consistent. Just for that reason, I would have them, especially if you get a map like Ormond, for example. It's like their mobility is like Ormond is such a big map, or something, even like something like Shelterwoods. The map is so big that their mobility sucks so hard that, you know, it's like if you can down people fast, it almost doesn't even matter, because the time it takes for you to go gen for gen is like they finished everything, you know. So it's too bad. Mobility is way too bad. Whereas these killers, on the try tier, like Doctor, Freddy, they have a better mobility. So that's why I would have them there. Now moving on, I have the okay. What I like to call okay good luck tier, which would be my next category. Now I'm really in doubt about this because it very much depends. You know, that it's very variable. I have Oni. I would have it as the best killer for this tier, but it's really, I'm not sure. I hesitate a little bit to put him on the try tier. And the reason for that is because, for example, Billy, you can chainsaw people at any point, you know. Freddy, they still have to be sleeping for you to chainsaw them or use your snares. If they're not sleeping, you essentially have no power. So that's why I had Billy before Freddy. And that's also why I have Oni on lower than the try category, because he has to build up to use his power, and that's not a good thing. Because if you get a good survivor, he's gonna loop you like, I don't know, maybe 2 gens, 3 gens before you get your first hit. So it's like you're essentially a killer with no power until you get your first hit. And after you get your first hit, you still have to like get more blood before you can actually start using your power. And on top of that is if survivors are constantly healed, because the good survivors, they just won't give you a hit for free. You know, you're gonna have to chase them for a while before you actually get your hit, so you can start getting your power out of them. And it's like during all this time, it's like playing a killer with no power. You know, that's not good. So that's why I have him on the okay good luck tier. Good luck because I don't know, maybe the survivors are bad, or you get a lot of hits on the first game, and that can, you know, that can help with the build up, which is gonna completely change the entire match after. But it's still kind of luck, you know what I mean? So I don't like to put him on the high tier because it may not be something that's consistent, especially against very good players. I'm absolutely sure it's not going to be consistent at all. You're not going to get your power that easily, especially if they heal. However, if you're playing like 4 injured survivors that don't heal and they try to do gens, you have your power available for so long that he can actually be better than Freddy or better than Billy at that point, because you're constantly using your power. Your power is constantly ready because they're dropping blood every hour in the entire map without healing. But again, I don't like to put him that high in the tier because it's just it's variable, you know. You can't control that. It's something, it's very variable. The many things that can happen from that, you can't control, so to an extent. So because it's not that consistent, I don't like putting him on the try tier. I'm gonna have it on this okay good luck tier. Good luck tier in the sense that, okay, if something goes your way, you can probably win. You have a big chance of winning, but it doesn't go your way, it's pretty much certain you're gonna lose. So it's like almost kind of a high risk, high reward kind of character. But I'll have him on first before that because his power is very, very good. He has like super good mobility, and you can hit people on a way that Billy cannot always hit them with the chainsaw. So it's really, really good. Now for second on this tier, I have the I'm really in doubt here, but I would have the Demogorgon as the second, simply because of the teleport. Pig is gonna be the third one for this tier, but I'm gonna have it first before Pig, simply because of the mobility of the teleport. Whereas she has pretty much base mobility, so it's not that good comparison to having a teleport. Now he also has the dash. I don't know how you call that, Demogorgon, where he jumps at you and hits you. That can stop a lot of loops. So it's very good. However, it can be also very easy to dodge, depending. Like Shaq, for example, if he's gonna jump the window and you're gonna do the dash on the person, somewhat it can still be a 50-50 because the distance you still have time to dodge you. Of course, it's a prediction, but it's, you know, it's not like it's a super guarantee hit. Or even on the loop, sometimes he can read that you're gonna dash and just dodge early to avoid your dash, and you're gonna miss, and then you have to go out through all that recovery. And so I know it's good, but you know, it's not super consistent, and it's not something you can use anywhere like Spirit, Billy, or Nurse. So it's a very good lethality tool, but it's not something you can use everywhere, and there's still some counterplay to it. So that's why he's not on the try tier, despite his mobility and everything. Because in theory, you can say he has as much mobility as Freddy, if not more, because he doesn't have to wait for the recharge of the teleport. He can just teleport anywhere as long as he has a portal available. Well, he does has a recharge, but it's way faster than Freddy's. Yeah, so for that reason, he has okay lethality, better than average, but not really super good against good survivors, of course. And everything this is considering what survivors can do, you know. I'm considering the best survivors. Mobility is okay, and lethality is pretty much okay. So everything is okay, so it's kind of like, okay, good luck. That's why I have it on good luck tier. Is like he has potential, but you can still go very much your way, but you can also not go your way at all. So that's why I have it on this tier. Now, third place for here, I will have Big. And the reason for that is simply I have her above the others. They are more average. They're more base looking, is because she has the traps, and that can help tremendously on how the match goes. They are RNG, but that can still help tremendously in changing the entire game. The fact that, like, if you're able to build some kind of pressure, you can have traps and people pretty much stay off the gens because they have to get the traps off their head. Sometimes they die to the trap. Like, sometimes you can stop them from going to the trap and then they die because of the trap, because you wasted their time early. There's so many variables to it and things you can play around. She always has the crouch where you can go no turret radius. There's like a huge amount of things you can do with that. She also has her dash, which I would consider a lethality too, because some loops you can use that to mind game and get hits as well. So she's really like good overall. She has the slowdown with the traps. She has the lethality with the dash and the stealth. And she has, well, the mobility is base. That's the only part she's kind of sucks. She's kind of as average, super average. But in comparison to the other normal killers, she more than compensates for her options with the trap and the stealth. However, because of she still has to hit people twice, so her lethality is kind of, you know, you can get hits where other killers would not, but you still have to hit them twice. So I would consider that, you know, not very good. Meaning, because against a good survivor, you're still gonna get looped like any other. Like if you were a Wraith, you're still gonna get looped very easily. So for that reason, I don't have her as high on the tier. Especially the first chase, like you can find the first guy, so whatnot. But then you guys still had to chase him and hit him twice with all the pilots available, and maybe you're gonna lose 3 gens by the time that first chase is done. And then it's kind of game over. You're not gonna kill over people. So you know, for that reason, she's too base for that. So Nurse, for example, comparing to Nurse, just like you start a game, you find, especially if you have whispers, you find a person right away, in like 30 seconds they're down, because you just need 2 blinks and they're down. So it's that easy. You know, it's just completely different than having to deal with pallets and looping. Like Big has to deal with the looping 100%, like 100%. Best option is really if you have some kind of a short loop where you can use the dash. But even then, he can kind of leave the loop and make you miss the dash, go to another pallet. It's still, like, you know, not guaranteed, but just an option that the others don't have. So that's why I have her higher on the tier. And that will conclude the good tier, the okay good luck tier. She's gonna be the last one for that. And now we move to the final tier, which is, I like to call it survivors are bad tier, which means if you win with these killers, it's very much likely, pretty much 99% likely, that it's because the survivors are bad or they did something they just didn't play well, and you took advantage of their mistakes. It essentially means survivors at bad tier. Essentially means you need survivors to make these mistakes for you to win, as these following killers. The only by the way, the only killers that I would consider you somewhat don't rely as much on their mistakes to win, it would be the win tier. Like, if you want actual control of like how much you can do to guarantee your win, regardless of how the other people play, and then I would for that I would just consider the win tier, which is Nurse and Spirit. That's it. The others you still can kind of rely on something. For example, Billy, like, you still have to somewhat rely on the map, because if you have a map or any kind of setup with a lot of pallets, a lot of windows, you know, like, it's okay, you have everything there, you have the chainsaw, but if the survivor is good, he's just gonna use all those pallets, he's gonna waste time, and it doesn't matter if you can down him eventually, because you already lost so many gens by then that, you know, the entire match is kind of over. Like, in essence, that you're not going to be able to kill all four, because the match has already progressed so much on the gens by the time you get those downs. So for that reason, I don't have him as on the win tier as Nurse. Nurse, you can just, it's almost like 100% skill base. It's not entirely, but it's pretty much 100% base, because she's very much like a fighting character. You're guessing a lot, so there's still a component that is not as much skill to it. It's kind of prediction. Prediction, you can call it a skill, but it's still, you know, 50-50. You're never gonna guess right every time, so, and you can never guess right every time, so that's what keeps her from being actual perfect. But yeah, so that explains why the win tier. And the last tier, like I was saying, survivors a bad tier, essentially means survivors need to make mistakes for you to win with these killers. If you win with these killers, it's because survivors made some kind of mistakes or several mistakes, especially crucial mistakes. At the top of these tier, and one thing you will notice, the main reason for these killers being on this tier right here is because they lack mobility so hard, they lack lethality so hard, and for the most part they pretty much lack everything. The slowdown is also very, like, it's super average or below average on all these 3 points. The key points that make a killer good or bad, which is lethality, mobility, and slowdown, like I said before. But the best one for this tier, which is the survivor makes mistakes, I would call the Plague. I would put her on the top tier of this survivors a bad tier. Now, of course, you can always include add-ons to the mix of everything that I just said, but I'm not gonna go into that, because I mean, there's too many add-ons for me to cover it, so I'm not gonna, you know, judge them based on add-ons. But like, for example, Plague, if you have her with those rat add-ons that you can see the aura when they're vomiting, or you have the fountain, then she just go way up on a tier. She can go up to Oni level or something even higher on the tiers if you have those add-ons, but, you know, it's still too much variable, so I don't want to consider that. Actually, I'll go over the add-ons later, okay? The best add-ons for each killer, just so, and how that would inflict them on the category for the tiers. But Plague would be the first one for this tier. Second one, I would have Legion. So Legion would be the second one for the survivors of bad tier, simply because how good he can build pressure with his power. You know, if they're close by, he can hit multiple people, then they're injured, then you can go back later if they didn't heal, and you can get a much faster down because they're already injured, so you only have to hit them once. But at the same time, you know, there's too many, the survivors can still work around, they cannot heal and do the gens anyway. Even if they are injured and they're a good survivor, it's still very hard to eat the loop in order to down them. You can still waste a lot of time even though they're already injured, because they have Addons and so many other things to help them. But also they can just stay spread out, and at that point you can't really use their power to much efficiency, because they're just so spread out that by the time you get to the other survivor, that your power's already died, so it's pointless. So for that reason, Plagues is pretty much the same thing regarding the injuries, but she has a much higher like payout from it, because she can get the power if they use the fountain. If they don't use the fountain, they're injured like forever. They don't even have the option to heal, So it's like way better than Legion. Legion, I would say, has a better mobility than Plague because he can use the power for mobility as well. But overall, I still think on the balance of things, Plague would be much better in the sense that she can get her power and pretty much the red one, which she spits blood, and just down him so quickly, much faster than what a Legion can, and that's a huge difference on the lethality. So like his mobility, it's okay, it's a little higher, but it's not really that much. So I would give her lethality a higher, and also the fact that she can make people she can have people injured with a lot more ease. She can just vomit on things and they'll get injured from that. She doesn't have to like the Legion. She doesn't have to be close by to injure them in a way. You know, make them injure to get them to the injured state. So she's just so much more like versatile. So I like her way better than Legion for that. That's why she's on top of this tier and he's second. And now going down, I mean, this is really. I know no particular order for now on. I can't really separate these. I can only say which the worst scaler in the game is, but I will get to that. So I would just say for this tier, these two are the top two, okay? The others are just like whatever. You make up your mind about them. But I would just for sure include them on this category where the survivors need to make mistakes. For that would be Clown. Again, no particular order from bad to worst. I'm just calling out names here. Clown would be the next one for this tier simply because he has a bottle, so you can somewhat use that to stop loops. The same way the snare Freddy can. So in that essence, his lethality can be very good. But again, if the survivor is good, you're still gonna get looped. So for quite some time. Maybe less time than it would a worse killer, but it's still time enough for them to finish the gens and win the game. So not good enough, essentially. Good, but not good enough. So lethality tools there is the bottles for sure, but then you also have to reload. So if you waste a lot of them, you're gonna have to reload, and you're with no power until you do so. Mobility completely sucks, like base movement. If you're playing on Ormond or Shelterwood's a big map, you're screwed because you have no mobility if they stay separated. You have like no control of the gens whatsoever. Okay, so that's Clown. Slowdown, also there's no slowdown factor at all, just really the pressure. Okay, so after Clown, following the list, I would have Myers. Simply because the reason why he's this low, because his power is actually very good. Like you can one shot down people, but you're still like a base movement character. Like his mobility is also sucks. It's like super average. And the reason why he's that low is because even though his power is good, like downing people in one shot is very good, he also has a very small turret radius, which can work a lot in his favor. However, there's just simply too big of a build up to get his power. It's like depending on the map, especially where it's really hard to stalk during some loops or structures in the map. Like it's complete, like it's ridiculous. You can like sometimes by the time you get your tier 2, like 3 gens are already done. It's like, what's the point, you know? It's like, okay, you have this super good power, but by the time you get the power, the match is already essentially over. You know, it's like it's pointless. So it by itself, it's a good power, but in the overall scheme of things, it just sucks. It takes too long. It's too hard. It takes too long to build up. Especially on tier 1, you're not only that, but you're trying to build your power, but you're even slower than a normal killer. It's like you're even slower than a spirit on tier 1 Myers. So it's like it's just so bad in so many levels. The fact that you have to build up that. So yeah, that's why I don't really like him that much. He's not that good as people think. I would believe you can still also get looped forever. He eats loops for days, eats pallets, eats windows for days. Like. Just no options at all. You just have to eat loops. So no, not good enough. Now next is Leatherface. He's good. He has the one-hit chainsaw, but it's kind of bad because you slow down so much when you're charging that. Sure, you can use add-ons to compensate for that, but overall, it just slows down you so much. Sometimes you can get juked, and you lose your chainsaw opportunity because of that. So, but he has a good lethality too, in the sense that he can. Like his lethality too is somewhat better, even better than Myers, because he doesn't have to build up for use a chainsaw. You know, he can just use it right away. You just have to be close enough. He can also use the chainsaw to break pallets, which is something break pallets faster, which is something Myers doesn't have, or the others Clown doesn't have. So yeah, that's pretty good in that sense. But again, it's like no slowdown, no mobility. Mobility just average. So yeah, okay, good, but not good enough to be on a higher tier, especially against very good survivors. It has to eat loop for days. Again, another big flaw. Next, I would have Ghostface. Again, this is no particular order. I'm just calling out the names in this category at this point. Ghostface is very good, has a very good stealth. He has the one shot down, but he has to necessarily stalk you first. He's way better at stalking than Myers, so he can get that build up a lot easier than Myers can. Because he can crouch, he can like lean over walls, which also accelerates the stalking time. So yeah, I would say he can be better than Myers in that sense. But again, no mobility whatsoever. Mobility is just average as it gets, which is not good enough for what survivors can do together. Chase potential, again, has to eat pallets for days, just like the pig. So I don't know, not good there at all. Chase is gonna last way too long if the survivors are good. And his only thing is like he has that little stealth you can play around and make some plays with it, but yeah, not good enough. Now moving on, I have Hag. Hag is another one for this list. The reason for that is good, especially if you have someone with Object of Obsession. This killer is just completely useless. You pretty much lost the game if you see someone with Object of Obsession, because he can just go. He can see where you have your traps. He can trigger all your traps. Like he can constantly see you the entire game. It's like essentially becomes a killer with no power, because he can always take your traps off. He always knows where the traps are, so he's not gonna run towards them. He can call out. If he's on Survivor Friends, he can call out the traps to all other people on the team. So it's like, it just sucks, And you're also a very slow killer, so you have no mobility. And unless you have a trap ready, it's like your looping is so bad. It's like even worse than a pig, for example, or a Ghostface. Even worse than that, because you're 110 killer, 110% killer. So it just sucks so bad. Like, you can also you cannot use traps like during the loop. You can set the trap as you're looping him without breaking the pellet, but then he can move to another loop. So it's like you just wasted time. And it's like, you know, someone can come and disable your trap while you're chasing someone else. It's like it's so bad. She relies on so much. She relies on having the traps ready to do anything at all, which is not a good thing. It's kind of Myers. You have to go to that build up just to get something out of it. And but the difference is that unlike Myers, the survivors can take your build up away by, like I said, Object of Obsession. You can see your traps, you can disable them while you're chasing someone else. You know, it's like bad. It's just bad. She really excels at camping. That's pretty much it. Like camping, defending an area, she's very good at that. But that's it. Anything else, she sucks completely. And no ability, no lethality is pretty bad. It's really hard to set up lethality because you need the traps ready. And you don't always have, and against good survivors you won't have. So it's just too much to deal with. Not good enough. Also you gotta consider that first chase, like, cause let's say, oh, I don't know, I'm gonna use, you kind of have to set up before you get things going, like at the beginning of the game. So you're losing time where they're doing gens. That's also really bad. It's just not good at all. Not good enough. Now moving on, next would be Wraith, and he's almost the last one. So Wraith, I would have you here. And the reason for that is he's essentially a killer with no power. He's much like a Ghostface, except that he cannot crouch. So the difference is that he doesn't have to wait for a recharge. So his stealth is much better than Ghostface, and since he can activate it at any time, and he can get a lot of free hits out of that stealth, which is good. He can also use the Windstorm boost when you get out of cloaking. You can use that boost to stop some loops sometimes. Kind of like the dash of the pig in a way. So that's good in a way. It can help you with some loops, but for most it doesn't work. It's just a few loops here and there. You can do that. And the survivor also has to make somewhat of a mistake for you to get that hit. So again, has to eat loops for days. His only advantage is that he can get very easy hits because of his stealth. Like the survivor's doing a gen in the middle of nowhere in a dead zone, and you just come stealth. He doesn't know you're coming, so you got a free hit out of there. But again, they can just heal, and even if they don't heal, like let's say they heal, you get the first hit. Well, guess what? You still have to chase him again and you get the second hit. And at that point is where things get really bad, which is you have to deal with all the loops, all the windows, all the pallets. You know, it's just you gotta take you forever to down that person if it's a good survivor. Which is more than enough time for the others to do the gens. So again, not good enough. And besides that, he has no power, so not good enough. And lastly, the worst killer in the game. The worst killer in the game, I would definitely say the Trapper, because he's essentially a worse version of the Hag. He's like the killer with no power at all. He's even worse than Oni in the sense that it's very hard to get your power to activate against good survivors. Because like even with all the buffs, he still needs more buffs. Another buff I think he needs is he needs to have more traps with him. He needs to be able to carry more traps, not just in his bag, without the need of add-ons for that, but also he needs to have more traps available in the map overall. He has like 5-6 traps I think max, and that's probably with add-ons that you can use in a map. You should have way more than that. You should have like 10 traps maybe. So like you have the option to pretty much lock down the entire map, all the loops, and he doesn't have that, so it's too bad. And it's like, again, if there's a person an object of obsession, you're a killer with no power, like completely. He can see where you're setting the trap, he can disable your trap, he can call out, someone sees the trap, he can call out where the trap is to their teammates, and they can come and disable while you're chasing someone else. It's so bad, like so bad. And not to mention how much time you waste to actually get this set up. It's like you take more time to set up that than the Hag takes to set up her traps. So he's like a downgrade version of that setup, you know, in relation to the Hag. Like it's the same kind of setup character, but it's just for a much longer, you know, you waste a lot more time to do that. And yes, you can get a down out of that if they fall in the trap. You know, but again, good survivors, you might get one trap here and there, but by the time you set all those traps, the gens are already going to be popping. By the time you set the traps and start and get the first down, it's pretty much game over against good survivors. So, and during all of that, if they see you at all, they're going to be looking, they're already going to be memorizing where you're setting your traps so they can disarm it later. And you can't do anything about it because you're going to be chasing someone else at that point. So it's just so bad. And the traps don't come back by themselves unless you have an add-on, but whatever. So it's like lethality really bad. Like it's so hard to get someone to fall in your trap, a good survivor to fall in your trap. It's very easy for them to get disarmed. It takes a lot of time to arm them. Way too much time, way more than you have to spend, you have available. And mobility sucks as well. It's like base mobility, nothing, no teleport, no nothing, no slow down at all. On the contrary, he slows down himself by using his power. So it's like he pretty much works against himself. So you kind of help yourself lose by doing that. So it's just not efficient, not good at all, not good enough. And against good teams, Trapper is certainly the killer you're gonna get destroyed with the most. So yeah, guys, that concludes my what is it? It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories. Let me go over the names again real quick. It's win tier, try tier, no mistake, high skill, try tier, okay, good luck tier, and survivors of bad tier. And yeah, that's it. Now let me just go over real quick on the add-ons that can change things quite a bit, really fast. I'll go one by one. Okay guys, so for add-ons real quick, Trapper has those add-ons where the red add-ons are the ones that really can change him and make him go up a tier, especially the one that makes the traps go back. That one is a game changer, that makes the traps go back by themselves. That's the biggest game changer for him. For Wraith, the biggest game changer is going to be when you combine the one with the, which he makes no noise, the red one makes no noise when he hits the thing, the bell. Combining with the one that you have no set radius for 6 seconds when you come out. That combo can be a game changer for him as well, because that can get you, like, the hits are even more free than before when you come out of stealth and they're in a place kind of in that zone. And also the windstorm add-ons, because you can use those to get more mobility around the map, so that can help as well. For ability is really the instant chainsaw, which allows you, or the engravings. You can also combine both together. The faster chainsaw time allows you to get chainsaws where you normally would not be able to without add-ons because it charges faster. And the engrave also allows you to make more curves and whatnot because you're going at a much faster speed. It can also it would also help with your mobility around the map overall. So those would be the best for him. The cooldowns is also the add-ons that affect the cooldown is also very good. Because you can use that if you have a really low cooldown, you can use the chainsaw to just chase people around when they get a lot of distance. Nurse really is just the range add-ons, and the recharge add-ons is really what makes the most difference. Hag, you can use Min Hag, which you can teleport at will to any trap. That's a game changer. And you can also use the Rusty Shackles. That helps a lot too. They cannot see where the trap is when the trap gets activated. Besides that, it would be just like the range activation for the traps. That's also a big one. And maybe the range at which you can teleport to the traps is also a big one. Can be a big one. You know, can help a lot. But game changer mostly be the Rusty Shackles and the Mint Rag, which you can teleport at will. Doctor, I actually like him without add-ons, but the two add-ons together combined, would probably be the best combo for him as well. I wouldn't say really it's a game changer, but it can help that, especially if you have the Iridescent Queen, because it makes them go into tier a lot more frequently, so they have to waste time snapping out of it, and that helps on controlling the gens. Though in that sense, it's really good. But overall, not really any add-ons that are gonna make him be any better or worse than he already is. Myers, you can use the stock add-ons to stock faster. That can also make that the biggest problem, which I said, is the build-up. It takes too long. That can help with that. Even then, it also cannot be enough. He also has tombstones, which can eliminate someone out of the game very quickly if he has a chance. He can get close enough, and there's no pallet or anything nearby. That's also a big game changer. And he also has infinite tier 3, so once you get that, you're one shot down for the entire game. But again, that also, it's a huge boot up, so maybe you get that, you're already at the end of the game. It won't matter if you're playing good survivors. But it's also a very good thing. It also can be a game changer for him in terms of add-ons. Huntress, you can use the Iridescent Hatchets, of course, but then you really have to be good aim because you only have 3 shots. You can use the Infantry Belt without the Iridescent. The Iridescent shots is already pretty good because you have more ammo, so you can allow yourself to miss more, you know, without getting a big punish for that. So that's very good as well. The others can help to like the wind-up time, so you can pull things faster. That's a lot of help too. And the one where you recover faster after you throw the hatchet, so you can get the second follow-up like much faster. That's good too. Leatherface is really just a movement speed, so when you miss, if you're kind of far away enough, not enough, I mean if you're kind of far where the chainsaw would not hit normally, if you have those speed add-ons where he accelerates faster doing the chainsaw, you can catch up to them even though they juked you or something and still be able to hit them, so that's very good. And maybe if you want the charge time, would also be a big deal for him. Freddy is really just slowdown, I would say, for the add-ons. Just focus on the slowdown add-ons, or the add-ons that make the teleport faster. That can also help him be stronger in that tier. The pig is really more traps. The red add-on, not red, the yellow gives you one more trap. That one's super good. Or things that interfere with the traps overall, like more boxes or less time to take the trap off. Those are also very good. Oh, and also things that involve her crouching. The rest is just really dumb. No, it's not gonna change her that much in the tier. Cloud, you can use the Hindred. You can use exhaustion on the bottles. Those are also will help a lot more. It will make the loop a lot easier to deal with. The looping. Makes him much more dangerous on the loop, but again, he still has all the other problems, so like the mobility, for example. So not good enough, but it will make him better, those add-ons. Spirit, I guess anything really for her just makes her better. Anything at all, like I don't know, recharge speed, like more movement, you know, everything makes her better. So any add-ons for her is okay, is good to go. Will make her better than she already is on the top tier. Legion, I think the recharge is probably the best add-on, so you can use your power more frequently, because like I said, you can use that for mobility. So by having the power recharge faster, you can use that more often, not only to injure them but also for mobility. So I would say that's the best to bet on. The add-on to break the pallet, I don't know, can be useful to an extent, but you still have to eat the stun after. So But it's good because you maybe lose more distance than actually breaking the pallet if you use the red add-on to just break the pallet. The add-on that you can also see the auras of the gens that are most progressed is also very good. Can be very strategic. So that goes up a tier. Plague is also super good with the add-ons on the apple, where she has more fountains without them having to cleanse. The add-ons that increase the infection time on the objects is also very good. And besides that would be the add-on that she sees the auras. Also the add-on that she infects people more quickly with her vomit. Those are also very good. But the most game changes is the one that you can see the aura. And the apples for her. She gets way stronger in the tier with that. Ghostface is just a recovery add-ons. The rest is just gimmicks. Just use the recovery add-ons and he can get... His stealth becomes almost as good as Wraith because he can constantly use it because it is recovering so fast. So that's would be the best for him. Is stacking recovery add-ons. Recovering speed add-ons. Now Demogorgon doesn't have really good add-ons. And the only add-on I really say is the one where you come out of stealth for longer when you go off the red add-on, when you come out the portal. And the one, also the ones that you get more portals, that's also very good because that will help with your mobility, gets even better. And the add-on where when you're charging your ability, you can move faster. I think it's something Abyss is called his ability. That's one is also makes him go. He gets more competitive, gets better on his abilities, his capabilities. Oni would be the dash ones where you can dash faster. You can charge the dash time faster for starting the dash. The ones that make them drop more blood, that one's very good as well. And yeah, that's about it for him. The one you can see the aura with can be also very good. Kind of like similar to the Plague, is very strategic. And finally for the Deathslinger, it's really things that involve the chain. His biggest problem is really the chain, like how easily they can break from the chain. Any add-ons that are going to influence that is going to be the way to go. And also the red add-on where you can down in one shot from if you get from a very long range. That would be a very good option too. Can be possibly a game changer, but not that much. And also maybe that add-on where reduces the tear radius when you're aiming down your sights, so you can get shots on the gem, where they're working on the gems, because they won't hear a tear radius at all. Especially if you combo that with monitor. And yeah, guys, that's about it for add-ons.